Welcome friends, myself I am Yoganandam, biology lecturer from EDAL Academy YouTube channel. In today's class, we are going to discuss one of the important topic from 11th standard biology. The topic is biomolecules. This is one of the important topic for your board examination as well as for your NEET examination. So from this topic, we are going to discuss biomicromolecules and biomacromolecules. So these are the topics we are going to discuss under part 1. The part 2, we are going to discuss about metabolism and enzymes. Before going to the topic, those who are watching our YouTube channel, you are requested to like, subscribe and share to your friends. Already those who are subscribed, you are requested to follow our YouTube channel. Let us continue the topic. So try to remember the chemicals or molecules present in all living organisms are called as biomolecules. The most amazing thing about a living system is that it is composed of non-living atoms and molecules. There is a wide diversity in living organisms in our biosphere. Now a question is that arises in our mind is, are all living organisms are made up of the same chemicals? That means elements and compounds. If we perform an analysis on a plant tissue, animal tissue or a microbial paste, we obtain a list of elements like carbon, hydrogen, oxygen and several others and their respective content per unit mass of a living tissue. If the same analysis is performed on a piece of Earth's crust as an example of non-living matter, we obtain a similar list. What are the differences between the two lists? In absolute terms, no such differences could be made out. All the elements present in the sample of the earth crust are also present in sample of living tissue. However, a closer examination reveals that the relative abundance of carbon and hydrogen with respect to other element is higher in any living organism than earth crust. Refer the tabular column. It is very clearly given. Oxygen is the most abundant element in the living system. See the tabular column: hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, their percentage in earth crust as well as in human body is given very clearly in the tabular column, as well as sulfur, sodium, calcium, magnesium, silicon, that also given. Try to remember what is the percentage which is present in earth crust and as well as in human body. It is given very clearly. Then let us go for how to analyze chemical composition. That means chemical analysis. What type of organic compounds are found in living organisms? To get an answer, one has to perform a chemical analysis. Any living tissue, that may be a vegetable or piece of liver tissue etc., is taken and grind it in trichloroacetic acid using a mortar and a pestle. We obtain a thick slurry. If we to strain this through a cheesecloth or cotton, we would obtain two fractions. One is called the filtrate, or more technically the acid soluble pool. The second one is the retentate, or the acid insoluble fraction. Scientists have found thousands of organic compounds in the acid soluble pool. Inorganic compounds like sulfate, phosphate etc. are also seen in the acid soluble fraction. Analytical techniques when applied to the compound give us an idea of the molecular formula and the probable structure of the compound. All the carbon compounds that we get from living tissue can called as biomolecules. Try to remember, all the carbon compounds that we get from living tissue can be called as biomolecules. However, living organisms have also got inorganic elements and compounds in them. How do we know this? Yeah, slightly different, but destructive experiments has to be done. One, weight is a small amount of a living tissue, say a leaf or liver, and this is called wet weight. And dry it, all the water evaporates, the remaining material gives dry weight. Now, if the tissue is fully burnt, all the carbon compounds are oxidized to gaseous form in the form of carbon dioxide, water vapor, and are removed. What is remaining is called as ash. This ash contains inorganic elements like calcium, magnesium, etc. Therefore, the elemental analysis gives elemental composition of living tissue in the form of hydrogen, oxygen, chlorine, carbon, etc. While analysis for compounds gives an idea of the kinds of organic and inorganic constituents present in living tissues. So you try to remember which are the things we have discussed. Then let us discuss about biomolecules. The molecules, there is one fraction common to all those compounds found in the acid soluble pool. They have the molecular weight ranging from 18 to around 800 daltons approximately, or less than 1000 daltons. Such kind of molecules are called as micromolecules. Micromolecules may be organic or inorganic and includes water, minerals, amino acids, sugar, nucleotides and gases. Try to remember, it is very clearly given in the tabular column. What are the different types of micromolecules given? Refer the flow chart. Glucose, ribose, amino acids, nitrogen bases, nucleotides, nucleosides. These are all some common examples. So these molecules, molecular weight ranging from 18 to 800 Dalton, present in acid soluble pool. Macromolecules are always organic. The acid insoluble fraction has only 4 types of organic compounds such as proteins, nucleic acids, polysaccharides and lipids. Macromolecules molecular weight range is 10,000 Dalton or above, present in acid insoluble pool. Try to remember what are the 4 examples which are given for macromolecules: proteins, nucleic acid, polysaccharide and lipids. Lipids exception. These classes of compounds, with the exception of lipids, have molecular weight in the range of 10,000 Daltons and above. For this very reason, biomolecules, the chemical compound found in living organisms, are of 2 types. One of those which have the molecular weight less than 1000 Dalton and are usually referred to as micromolecules or simple biomolecules, while those which are found in acid insoluble fraction are called as macromolecules or biomacromolecules. The molecules in the insoluble fraction, with the exception of lipids, are polymeric substances. Except a lipid or other macromolecules are formed by polymerization or condensation of monomers. Hence, these are called polymers. Proteins are polymers of different amino acids. Polysaccharides are otherwise called as carbohydrate or polymers of monosaccharides. Nucleic acids are the polymers of nucleotides. Let us discuss about micromolecules followed by macromolecules. From micromolecules, first we are going to discuss about amino acids. It is one of the example for micromolecule. Amino acids are organic compounds containing an amino group and an acidic group as a substituent on the same carbon. For example, alpha carbon. Hence, they are called alpha amino acids. They are substituted methanes. These are 4 substituent group occupying the 4 valency positions. These are hydrogen, carboxyl group, amino group and variable group designated as R group. Based on the nature of R group, there are many amino acids. However, those which occur in proteins are only that are 20 types. The R group in these proteinaceous amino acids could be a hydrogen, and amino acid is called as glycine. A methyl group, that is alanine, hydroxymethyl group, example serine, etc. The chemical and physical properties of amino acids are essentially of the amino, carboxyl and or functional groups. Based on the number of amino and carboxyl groups, there are acidic, example glutamic acid, basic, example lysine, and neutral, example valine. These are the three types of amino acids. Based on the number of amino acids and carboxyl group, there are acidic, basic and neutral. Try to remember with example very clearly given. A particular property of amino acid is the ionizable nature of NH2 and COOH group. Hence, in solutions of different pH, the structure of amino acids undergoes certain changes. In aqueous solution, the carboxyl group can lose a proton and the amino group can accept a proton, giving rise to the dipolar ion called Zwitter ion. Zwitter ion is neutral but contains both positive and negative charges. Refer the diagrammatic representation. At the same time, the amino acids can also be classified as essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. The essential amino acids are not synthesized by the body and should supply through diet. Example lysine, leucine, isoleucine, tryptophan, etc. Non-essential amino acids can be synthesized by the body. Example glycine, alanine, serine, arginine. So it is another kind of classification that also you try to remember. It is followed by lipids. Lipids are generally water insoluble. They could be simple fatty acids. A fatty acid has a carboxyl group attached to a R group. The R group could be a methyl, that is CH3, or ethyl C2H5, or a higher number of CH2 groups, 1 carbon to 19 carbons. Fatty acids could be saturated, that means without double bond, or unsaturated with one or more double bonds in between CC. Saturated fatty acids do not have double bond in their carbon chain. Example, palmitic acid. The molecular formula is given, refer the diagrammatic representation. Palmitic acid has 16 carbons including carboxyl carbon. In lipids, the number of oxygen atom is always less than the number of carbon atoms. Unsaturated fatty acids have one or more double bonds in their carbon chain. Arachidonic acid has 20 carbon atoms including the carboxyl carbon. Another simple lipid is glycerol, which is trihydroxypropane. Glycerol is a 3-carbon alcohol with 3 OH group as binding sites. Many lipids have both glycerol and fatty acids. These are also called fats and oils based on melting point. Oils have lower melting point, example gingerly oil, and hence remain as oil in winters. Hence, the fatty acids are found esterified with glycerol. They can be then monoglycerides, diglycerides and triglycerides. In this slide, it is very clearly given about triglycerides. One glycerol and one fatty acid together form monoglyceride. One glycerol and 2 fatty acid together form diglycerides. One glycerol and 3 fatty acid together form triglycerides. It is followed by compound lipids. These are the esters of fatty acids and alcohol with additional groups. Example, phospholipids. It is composed of fatty acid, glycerol and phosphate group. They are found in cell membrane. Here one of the example is given for a compound lipid, that is lecithin. Compound lipids followed by derived lipids. These are the products of hydrolysis of simple lipids and compound lipids. One of the example is cholesterol. The another example is sugar. Sugar is always called as carbohydrate. Carbohydrates are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones are the compounds which produce such units on hydrolysis. Carbohydrates are also called as saccharides. Some carbohydrates are sweet in taste and called the sugars. Carbohydrates are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio of 1:2:1. Examples: glucose and ribose. It is followed by nitrogenous bases, also given under micromolecules. These are the nitrogen containing cyclic compounds found in nucleic acids. These are classified as follows. Nitrogen bases are broadly divided into purines and pyrimidines. Purines, example adenine and guanine. Pyrimidines, example cytosine, thymine and uracil. See the flow chart. Nitrogen bases with diagrammatic representation, it is given very clearly, adenine and uracil. What do you know about nucleosides and nucleotides? Nucleoside, there are 5 types of nucleosides are given. Try to remember. Adenine and sugar together form adenosine nucleoside. Guanine and sugar together form guanosine. Cytosine and sugar together form cytidine. Thymine and sugar thymidine. Uracil and sugar uridine. So you try to remember nitrogen base and sugar without phosphate group. Nucleosides are made up of nitrogenous base and sugar. Nitrogenous base, sugar and phosphate group together form nucleotide. Nucleotide without phosphate group is called as nucleoside. Same like nucleoside, there are 5 types of nucleotides are also given. Try to remember. Adenine, that is nitrogenous base, sugar and phosphate group together form adenylic acid. Guanine, sugar and phosphate together form guanylic acid. Cytosine, sugar and phosphate together form cytidylic acid. Thymine, sugar and phosphate together form thymidyllic acid. Uracil and sugar and phosphate together form uridylic acid. So these are the 5 types of nucleotides, as same like nucleosides. Nucleotides are heterocyclic compounds. Nucleic acids such as DNA and RNA are made up of nucleotides. Nucleotides are made up of nucleosides. So it is followed by primary and secondary metabolites. First we must know what is metabolism. The organic compounds taking part in metabolism is called as metabolites. The most exciting aspect of chemistry deals with the isolating thousands of compounds, small and big, from living organisms, determining their structure and, if possible, synthesizing them. If one were to make a list of biomolecules, such as list would have thousands of organic compounds including amino acids, sugars, etc. We can call these biomolecules as metabolites. In animal tissues, one notices the presence of all such categories of compounds like sugars, amino acids, fat, oil, liquids, nitrogenous bases, nucleosides and nucleotides, which are called primary metabolites. So refer flowchart. However, when one analyzes plant, fungal and microbial cells, one word to see the thousands of compounds other than primary metabolites are called as secondary metabolites. Example: alkaloids, flavonoids, rubber, essential oils, antibiotics, colored pigments, scents, gums, spices, etc. So you try to remember, while the primary metabolites have identifiable functions and play known roles in normal physiological processes. We do not know at the moment understand the role or functions of all the secondary metabolites in host organisms. However, many of them are useful to human welfare, example rubber, drugs, spices, scents and pigments. Some secondary metabolites have ecological importance also. So you try to remember everything is given in the tabular column. Secondary metabolites, pigments, alkaloids, terpenoids, essential oils, toxins, lectins, drugs, polymeric substances. For all these secondary metabolites, examples are given very clearly. What are the differences between primary metabolites and secondary metabolites? That also try to understand. Primary metabolites have identifiable functions in the physiological process and necessary for life. So while we are talking about secondary metabolites, they are not directly involved in the normal growth, development or reproduction of organisms. So that is the basic difference between primary metabolites and secondary metabolites. Biomicromolecules followed by biomacromolecules. So you know the differences between micromolecules and macromolecules. A molecular weight in range 10,000 daltons or above are called as macromolecules. Is present in acid insoluble pool. There are 4 examples already we have discussed. Try to remember: protein, nucleic acid, polysaccharide. What about lipid? They are given except lipid. Then why do lipids whose molecular weight do not exceed 800 Dalton come under acid insoluble fraction? For example, macromolecular fraction. Lipids are indeed small molecular weight compounds and are present not only as such but also arranged into structures like cell membrane and other membranes. When we grind a tissue, we are disrupting the cell structure. The cell membrane and other membranes are also broken into pieces and form vesicles which are not water soluble. Therefore, these membrane fragments in the form of vesicles get separated along with the acid insoluble pool and hence in the macromolecular fraction. Lipids are not strictly macromolecules. The acid soluble pool represents roughly the cytoplasmic composition. The macromolecules form cytoplasm and organelles become the acid insoluble fraction. Together they represent the entire chemical composition of living tissue or organisms. If we represent the chemical composition of living tissue from abundance point of view and arrange them classwise, we can observe that water is the most abundant chemical in living organisms. So let us discuss about one by one biomacromolecules. So except lipid, there are 3 examples we are going to discuss under biomacromolecules: proteins, polysaccharides and nucleic acids. First, let us discuss about proteins. So you all know proteins are polypeptides. They are linear chains of amino acids linked by peptide bonds. Each protein is a polymer of amino acid, as there are 20 types of amino acids. Example: alanine, cysteine, proline, tryptophan, lysine, etc. A protein is a heteropolymer and not a homopolymer. A homopolymer has only one type of monomer repeating n number of times. Amino acids can be essential or non-essential. That already we have discussed. Essential amino acids are important for our health and they have to be supplied through our diet. Hence, dietary proteins are the source of essential amino acids. The non-essential amino acids are those which our body can make. So you try to remember what are the 2 types: essential and non-essential amino acids. So let us discuss about the structure of proteins. Proteins are heteropolymers containing string of amino acids. In inorganic chemistry, the structure invariably refers to the molecular formulae NaCl, MgCl2, etc. That is sodium chloride, magnesium chloride, etc. Organic chemists always write a two-dimensional view of the molecules while representing the structure of the molecule. Example, benzene, naphthalene, etc. Physicists conjure up the three-dimensional views of the molecular structures while biologists describe the protein structure at four levels. What are the four levels of proteins? Let us discuss one by one. First one is primary structure of protein. The sequence of amino acids, for example, the positional information in a protein, which is the first amino acid, which is second, and so on, is called as primary structure of protein. Yeah, protein is imagined as a line, the left end represented by the first amino acid and the right end represented by the last amino acid. The first amino acid is also called as N-terminal amino acid. The last amino acid is called as C-terminal amino acid. It is followed by secondary structure. The second structure, that is a secondary structure of protein, refers to the shape in which long polypeptide chain can exist. A protein thread does not exist throughout as an extended ridged rod. The thread is folded in the form of a helix, similar to a revolving staircase. Of course, only some portions of the protein thread are arranged in the form of a helix. In proteins, only right-handed helix are observed. Other regions of the protein thread are folded into other forms, is what called as secondary structure. It is followed by tertiary structure. In addition, the long protein chain is also folded upon itself like a hollow woolen ball, giving rise to the tertiary structure. This gives us a three-dimensional view of a protein. Tertiary structure is absolutely necessary for the many biological activities of proteins. Example, myoglobin. So try to remember about the tertiary structure of the protein. This long protein chain is also folded upon itself like a hollow woolen ball. It gives three-dimensional view of protein. It is followed by quaternary. Some proteins are an assembly of more than one polypeptide or subunits. The manner in which these individuals folded polypeptides or subunits are arranged with respect to each other. Example, linear string of spheres. Spheres arranged one upon each other in the form of a cube or plate, etc. is the architecture of the protein, otherwise called as the quaternary structure of the protein. Adult human hemoglobin consists of, there are 4 units. There are 4 subunits. 2 or these are identical to each other. Hence, 2 subunits of alpha type and 2 subunits of beta type together constitute the human hemoglobin. Try to remember, some proteins are an assembly of more than one polypeptide or subunits. Example, human hemoglobin has 4 subunits, such as 2 alpha subunits and 2 beta subunits. Try to remember, the most abundant protein in the animal world is collagen. At the same time, the most abundant protein in the whole of the biosphere is rubisco. Rubisco means ribulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase enzyme. Proteins carry out, there are several functional activities. Proteins carry out many functions in living organisms. Some kind of proteins transport nutrients across cell membrane. Some fight infectious organisms, some are hormones, some are enzymes, etc. So try to remember this flow chart. Proteins essential for growth and tissue repair, transport of nutrients across cell membrane. For example, GLUT4 enables glucose transport into cell, act as intracellular ground substance, example collagen, act as antibodies to fight infectious organisms, act as receptors, example receptors of smell, taste, hormones. Some are hormones, example insulin. Some are enzymes, example trypsin. Some are pigments, example hemoglobin, etc. So you try to remember which are the examples given, that everything is important. Structure of protein followed by polysaccharides. The acid insoluble pellet as polysaccharides such as carbohydrates as another class of macromolecules. Polysaccharides are long chains of sugars. They are threads, that means literally a cotton thread containing different monosaccharides as building blocks. For example, cellulose is a polymeric polysaccharide consisting of only one type of monosaccharide. For example, glucose. Homopolysaccharides, starch, glycogen, and cellulose are the polymers of glucose. Starch is a variant of cellulose and present as a storehouse of energy in plant tissue. Starch forms helical secondary structures. In fact, starch can hold I2 molecule, that is iodine molecule, in the helical portion. The starch iodine is blue in color. Cellulose does not contain complex helix and hence cannot hold iodine. A second example, glycogen. Animals have another variant called as glycogen. It is commonly called as animal starch because its structure is similar to amylopectin. In a polysaccharide chain, it is generally called as glycogen. The right end is called as reducing end and the left end is called as non-reducing end. It has branches. And another example is cellulose. Cellulose is a homopolymer. Plant cell walls are made up of cellulose. Paper made from plant pulp and cotton fiber is made up of cellulosic. And another important example is chitin. There are more complex polysaccharides in nature. They have building blocks, amino sugars, and chemically modified sugars. Example, glucosamine, N-acetyl glucosamine, etc. These polysaccharides are formed by the condensation of two or more types of monosaccharides. For example, exoskeletons of arthropods, for example, have a complex polysaccharide called as chitin. These complex polysaccharides are homopolymers. Then another example is unulin. It is a polymer of fructose. So these are all some examples given for polysaccharides. Try to remember. Starch forms helical secondary structure. Starch holds iodine molecule in the helical portion giving blue color. But cellulose has no complex helix and therefore cannot hold iodine. It is followed by that another the important example which is given for macromolecule is nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are broadly divided into DNA and RNA. Nucleic acids are heteropolymers of nucleotides. Many nucleotides are linked to form polynucleotide chain. So you try to remember. The other type of macromolecule that one would find in the acid insoluble fraction of any living tissue is the nucleic acid. These are polynucleotides. Together with the polysaccharides and polypeptides, these comprise the true macromolecular fraction of any living tissue or cell. For nucleic acids, the building block is called as nucleotide. A nucleotide has three chemically distinct components. One is a heterocyclic compound, the second is the monosaccharide, and the third is phosphoric acid or phosphate. The heterocyclic compounds in nucleic acids are the nitrogenous bases named adenine, guanine, uracil, cytosine, and thymine. Adenine and guanine are the substituted purines, while the rest are substituted pyrimidines. The sugar found in the polynucleotide is either ribose, that is monosaccharide pentose, or 2-deoxyribose. The nucleic acid containing deoxyribose is called as deoxyribonucleic acid, that is DNA, while that which contains ribose is called as ribonucleic acid RNA. Adenosine, guanosine, thymidine, uridine and cytidine are the nucleosides. Adenylate acid, thymidilic acid, guanylate acid, uridylic acid and cytidilic acid are generally called as nucleotides. These and all already we have discussed under nitrogenous bases from biomicromolecule itself. You try to remember. The common type of DNA is Watson and Crick model. It is the secondary structure of DNA. So according to Watson and Crick model of DNA consists of, there are two polynucleotide strands arranged anti-parallelly as a double helix. One full turn as there are 10 steps, that means 10 base pairs. The length of one full turn is 34 angstrom. In nanometer it is 3.4. The same time the distance between each step is 3.4 angstrom. At each step the strand turns 36 degrees Celsius, that means 360 degree for a one full turn. In DNA, a nucleotide consists of nitrogen base, deoxyribose sugar and a phosphate group. The backbone of DNA strand is formed by the sugar, phosphate, sugar chain. That is, you try to remember, the backbone of DNA strand is formed by sugar, phosphate and sugar chain. Steps are formed of nitrogen base pairs. Nitrogen bases include adenine, guanine, thymine and cytosine. Uracil is absent in DNA. Try to remember Chargaff base pair rule. According to Chargaff base pair rule, adenine always pair with thymine. In between adenine and thymine, there are two hydrogen bonds are present. Guanine always pair with cytosine. In between guanine and cytosine, there are three hydrogen bonds are present. A phosphate molecule links the third carbon atom of one sugar of one nucleotide to the fifth carbon of the sugar of the succeeding nucleotide. There is an ester bond between phosphate group and OH group of sugar. As there is one such ester bond on either side, it is generally called as phosphodiester bond. The bond between sugar and nitrogenous base is called as N-glycosidic bond. So this and all once again we are going to study from 12th standard, molecular basis of inheritance. So here some basic information given about the structure of DNA.